10 random magic cards rated. Day number 37, everybody. Thought I wasn't going to put a video out today, right? Never doubt me. First card of the day is Sphinx of MOSI. This is 6 mana, 3 and 3 blue for a 6/6 Sphinx with flying. You can pay 2 and a blue to draw a card and then put a +1/+1 counter on Sphinx of MOSI. This looks like an intro pack rare to me. It's originally from Rise of the Eldrazi. I guess if you have all the mana in the world, it gets huge and you draw a bunch of cards. That's kind of fun. And infinite mana in Commander. Draw your deck. You probably do better stuff with infinite mana, though, all things considered. But this is better than the average card. It's a bomb in limited. It's not really what we're judging here, as you know. I don't think this is going to go in like anyone's Commander deck, but I'm still going to give it a 5.2. Soul Cauldron. It's like every time I see an activated ability, you know, got to throw that out there. But I want to actually give this more than a 5.2 because it's just like generically decent. But there's some really good magic cards out there, so I probably shouldn't. Let's move on to Stitcher's Graft. A single mana for an equipment that equips for 2. Equipped creature gets +3/+3. Whenever equipped creature attacks, it doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. When Stitcher's Graft becomes unattached from a permanent, sacrifice that permanent. Okay, I remember this barely. From Eldritch Moon a few years back in Standard. It actually did pop up every now and again, usually as like a one-of in really, really aggressive decks. Sometimes they wanted an artifact, so it's not like this has never seen play or anything, but I still don't think it's very good. Like even in a Commander deck where you have other ways of untapping your guys or you want to sacrifice stuff maybe, it's still just probably not super great. So I think I'm going to give this like a 4.8, you know, not too terrible. Maybe a random equipment deck might play it, but, you know, it has a downside, and there's almost no reason for it to have a downside because you're paying 3 mana for this effect, and why would it need to have a downside? 2, as a matter of fact. So I'm not too sure. But let's move on to Basris Acolyte. This is 4 mana, 2 and 2 white for a 2/3 cat cleric with lifelink. When it ETBs, you put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 other target creatures that you control. Speaking of draft, you know, 4 mana for 4/5 in, actually, 4/5 in power toughness on a lifelink guy. You know, you have to spread the love in terms of the other 2 power toughness that it doesn't already come with. But I don't know. Could be worse, but, you know, it could be a whole lot better, too. Again, draft specialist here. We'll give it a 2.8, something like that, you know. I don't think anyone really, even in cats, even in clerics, it's got 2 decently relevant creature types. Not the most, but, you know, midway relevant, and it's still not good. So let's move on to Lord of the Accursed. This is cool art here. 3 mana, 2 and a black. For a 2/3 zombie, other zombies you control get +1/+1. Oh, yeah, I know this card. Also, pay 1 and a black and tap it to have all zombies gain menace till end of turn. I know this version of the card, this art right here, from Amonkhet, but this Jumpstart art is sick, dude. It's like anime art. It's awesome. How much are you? 18 cents? Let's go. Okay, so where's my order sheet? Buy Jump Lord of the Accursed. Cool. All right. Got a buy list going here. It's like 5 cards long now due to this series, but we're not even close to $5. I don't even know if we're close to $1 yet on that buy list, but in any case, yeah, this is a fine card, dude. Only really playable in zombies, but in that deck, it's more or less a must play. So I'm going to give this card a 6.8 and kind of leave it at that. That's a good card, man. But Forgotten Creation is next. 4 mana, 3 and a blue for a 3/3 zombie horror with Skulk. That means it can't be blocked by creatures that have greater power than it. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may discard all the cards in your hand. If you do, draw that many cards. So, okay, this is not too expensive. It's like 25 cents right now. It was originally printed in Shadows over Innistrad. And that's weird because I played that set. I reviewed that set. And I don't remember this card. At all. It's good though. It actually is pretty decent. Wait, no. Did I? Yeah, I think I did review this. But anyway, all that aside, I don't hate it, but I also don't like it. I like the idea of, well, actually, I like its power toughness. I was gonna say you either increase its power or something like that, but no, you don't do that. You don't do that. I think 3 or 4 is pretty good for a creature with Skulk. you know? But altogether, it's not that impressive of a card. It probably does some shenanigans-y things, just having this on a stick every single turn in Commander. But I'm still not like that impressed. So I'm going to give it a 4.94, so it doesn't quite round up. Something like that. But next is Cloud Spirit, everybody. We've actually already talked about Cloud Spirit, haven't we? No, we have not. We just talked about a card just like it, Cloud Elemental. This is 3 mana, 2 and a blue for a 3/1 Spirit with flying that can block only creatures with flying. So it's like a Cloud Elemental, but Cloud Elemental was this card at this casting cost for a 2/3 flyer. This, you technically get less power toughness overall, but you get 3 points of power, which I think is actually better in a lot of cases. You know, I guess this dies to shock, whereas Cloud Elemental doesn't, but I'm really splitting hairs here. They're not, neither one of them are very good Magic cards, although Cloud Elemental, it was actually played in tournaments back in the day. But as far as this thing goes, I'm still just going to have to give it like a 3. It's not a good Magic card, but it's cool. What do you look like from Portal? Oh, that's cool art. From Dieter Lizzie. Yeah, okay. It's been a while since I've seen some art from Dieter Lizzie. Case of the Burning Masks is up next. This is 3 mana, 1 a red and a red from Murders at Karlov Manor for a case. When this case enters the battlefield, it does 3 damage to target creature an opponent controls. To solve this case, 3 or more sources you control have to have dealt damage this turn. After it's solved, you can sacrifice it to exile the top 3 cards of your library, choose one of them, and play that card this turn. So the more, every time I see this card, I'm like, is this all right? It's not. It's pretty obviously not. It's seen absolutely no play in Standard. And I was about to say I'm not sure why it would, but the reason it would is because it is a removal spell that eventually casts Anticipate. And what's wrong with that, you know? Hopefully it casts Anticipate. If you have enough mana, or if you can attack the turn that it comes into play, then you can solve it the turn it comes out. So long as you have like 2 creatures to attack, they don't even have to deal damage to your opponent. They just deal damage to something. So, I don't know, it actually is pretty decent card selection. I don't hate this. 5.1. I'm never going to hate this card, but I'm also never going to play this card. So let's move on to Dwarven Soldier. Oh, a Fallen Empire's original, baby. This is 2 mana, 1 and a red for a 2/1 dwarf. If Dwarven Soldier blocks or is blocked by orcs, it gets +0/+2 till end of turn. Do you guys know this used to see some play? You guys know that? Another little history lesson. I know it's your favorite part of these videos. Back in the day, a 2 mana 2/1 with no downside in red was about as good as you could do in your aggressive deck. And that trend lasted all the way past Invasion. I know that. It lasted past Invasion because there was a creature like Gitu something Weaver in Invasion that used to show up in mono red decks. It was a 2 mana 2/1, 1 and a red for a 2/1. And you could pay like 2 mana to give a creature that was like a black or green creature haste until end of turn. Mono red decks played that card, even though they would have 0 use for its activated ability ever. And that's because 2 mana 2/1. And that was in like 2002, 3, something like that. This, on the other hand, actually has an upside for a 2 mana 2/1 back in Fallen Empires. So it actually didn't see like all the play in the world, but it did see some play, believe it or not. I still can't rate the card highly. It's like a 2 point. It's like a 2 now. Let's give it a 2. But yeah, this actually does have some history. And we look back on Fallen Empires and we say none of the cards are playable, but Preacher was playable, Hammered Spawning Bed was playable, obviously Hymn to Torak was playable, this was playable, Night Soil was playable, High Tide was playable. Fallen Empires, it really does get a bad rap. People played Rainbow Veil, Aeliopile. There's a ton of cards in Fallen Empires that were playable. But anyway, next is Ajani Unyielding. This is 6 mana, 4 a green and a white for a 4 loyalty legendary Ajani Planeswalker. You can +2 this guy to reveal the top 3 of your library. Put all non-land permanent cards revealed this way into your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Top 3, get a non-land permanent. Okay. -2, exile a creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. Cast Swords to Plowshares. And then -9, put 5 +1/+1 counter. Well, almost Swords to Plowshares. But anyway, -9, put 5 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control and 5 loyalty counters on each other Planeswalker that you control. That's not the best ultimate in the world, but it probably does let you ultimate other Planeswalkers. So there's that. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if you just +2 him 3 turns in a row, then he ultimates and he sticks around theoretically. So that's kind of cool. I don't know, 6 mana is probably just altogether too much for this, but I do like that it's 2 kind of Swords to Plowshares on 1 stick. And there's really nothing wrong with that. Those Planeswalkers are okay for the most part in casual Commander. Even though there's 3 people attacking into them, I keep having people tell me that I'm dumb for saying Planeswalkers aren't super played in Commander. People keep telling me I'm wrong. So I think that this is fine. You know, some card advantage that gets it up to 6 and technically 2 removal spells. You know, that's pretty good. So I will give this a 5.81. Let's say something like that, because I don't think it's like amazing, but it's okay. King Graft. Only ever printed in Urza's Legacy, but not part of the reserve list. This is 6 mana, 4 and 2 blue for a 4/5 crab. You can pay 1 and a blue and tap it to put a green creature on top of its owner's library. God, that would be like the most annoying thing in the world. Just keep doing it turn over turn. It is kind of interesting that you can target your own stuff. So like in a Simic Commander deck, if you have green creatures like Eternal Witness or like something else with a really good ETB trigger, then like I guess you could keep drawing it over and over. Something. But 6 mana is a little much. I think we can all agree for this kind of effect, especially when if you use it on your own guys, it replaces your draw step, and you don't want that. So I think, well, you know, and there's other tricks. Actually, just one more thing, because you got to uncover every stone, don't you? There's plenty of things that care about like the casting cost of a card on top of your library. There's a bunch of cards like that. And you could do some fun tricks with a couple of creatures that care, right? Like we just saw that thing in the March of the Machine Aftermath set that like at the beginning of combat on your turn, you flip over the top card of your library and it can become a copy of that creature. So I guess if you wanted to repeat a cool ETB trigger on like a Titan of Industry, but also turn that card into a Titan of Industry for your attack step, then like this is a fun way of doing that. I don't know. It's neat. It's a pretty unique effect that also color hoses. So I'll give the card a 4.6. That's too high. I'll give the card a 4.2, which is still too high, but like it makes me hungry, so I think it deserves a point. Let's move on to Mountain. All mountains, all basic lands get a 5 and don't count for the day. But as far as the art goes, looks all right. Evokes Phyrexia pretty well. But the actual last card of the day is an old favorite of mine. It is Blaze, everybody. This one costs $22 because it's a 7th edition foil. What's the Three Kingdoms one look like? I don't know if I've ever seen it. Oh, that looks cool. That looks awesome. Anyway, Blaze is a fireball. It's a worse fireball, but it's the most simple. Like X damage spell of all time. Just X and a red for a sorcery that deals damage, or X damage, to any creature or player. So really any target is the Oracle text. So you can hit Planeswalkers, you can hit battles with a Blaze, I guess, if you care. But yeah, X to any target for X and a red. So classic, the burn spell. I mean, Fireball is the burn spell technically, but you know, again, this is the most like easy for newer players to understand and go like, oh, if I have 21 mana, I win the game. Like, yeah, but you know what I mean? But honestly, it's 30 years later. I started playing Magic almost 3 decades ago, and I still look at cards like this and I'm like, okay. So if I have 21 mana, I'm still doing that to myself. Blaze is solid. It's still solid. There's so many better X spells that you could play, especially in this day and age. But I still have a soft spot for Blaze. I'm just going to give it a 5.1. A little bit better than average. I don't think anyone's playing Blaze outside of like extremely simplified cubes for newer players or whatever, but it's not, you know, it's removal. It can hit dome. It's not a 4. It's just not, you know. So that's a fun one to go out on the day with. But anyway, that is all for today. Hope you enjoyed it. I love you. I do. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.